Okay, I might as well start talking about this book again because, like, I've mentioned it to you before, I've mentioned it quite recently, it's been quite fun. Those are the guys who wrote it. Okay? So these aren't your standard run-of-the-mill stupid pieces of shit who write for the New Age occult type pagan community, are they? If you don't know who these people are, do me a favor right now, click pause on this video, okay, and then go open up a fresh window, a fresh Chrome browser, and type in that name into, I don't know, Wikipedia or Google, and find out as much about him as you can. And then do the same with this person here, because I'm not going to do all the friendly work for you, right? You're an intelligent individual, you've got access to the internet, you have the capacity to think for yourself. You don't need to listen to someone else and then just parrot back every single thing that they say. Do you? No, you don't. No, honestly you don't. Really and truly you don't. Okay, so maybe I should like try and dig up a bit more information about this book so you'll like know a little bit more. There you go. This is the 1993 edition, published by who the fuck ever. Well, anyway, that's all you need to know. Right, deal with it. And I've bookmarked this little section here. Hopefully I can get to it without the world coming to an end. And I'm just going to read a bit to you, which, like, connects with what I've been playing around with recreationally for radionics. Okay, because that was fun, it's interesting, it's my shtick at the moment, it's been my shtick at the moment for a while. And I got my radionics equipment set up over there. I'm just sitting on the edge of my bed right now, so this is like the closest you're going to get to a high quality studio, if you know what I mean. From me this afternoon, for any particular reason. It says here, many hazards lurking in modern food: salmonella in chickens, listeria in cheeses, and botulism in cooked pork, as in like what happened in 1992. Making us rather wary of what we eat these days. Botulism is most definitely not to be taken lightly. Thus, the half-dozen or so experiments which have examined possible PK, psychokinetic, effects on small organisms, yeast cells, salmonella, and the gut-dwelling E. coli, are a typical interest. In a recent review, Gertrude Schmedler located 6 studies, all conducted by different researchers, all of which demonstrated significant effects on cultures of unicellular creatures by individuals attempting to use PK to influence their activity. Such studies appear to demonstrate with a startling consistency that the human will can inhibit or promote the growth of such organisms. Okay. Adding more recent studies, the success level remains very high, and the precautions taken, measurements made by people unaware of which group of organisms was to be promoted or inhibited, elimination of physical contact between person and organism, appear to have been consistently good. This, elimination of physical contact between person and organism using psychokinetics, okay? This research suggests strongly that PK may be able to affect biological organisms of a simple kind. This has profound implications for, under certain conditions, I think that should be underlined in red, under certain conditions, unicellular organisms are pertinent vectors of disease. Okay, now it talks about blood cells here. Here we go. Work with other cellular systems has examined how blood may be influenced by PK. In 3 experiments, William Broad studied the disintegration of red blood cells placed in solutions with different salinity, namely salt concentration, to normal blood plasma. When red blood cells are placed in such solutions, they begin to disintegrate, a process known as hemolysis. Since a solution of red blood cells becomes increasingly transparent to light as the cells disintegrate, the rate of their destruction can easily be measured by the amount of light from a constant source transmitted to a solution using an instrument called a spectrometer. In these experiments, spectrometer readings were made by a technician unaware of whether or not a person at a distant location was trying to protect the blood cells from destruction using PK. This is analogous to so-called distant healing, and obviously eliminates known physical mechanisms for the effects. In 2 of the 3 experiments, the hemolysis, one day I'll learn how to pronounce that word, was significantly slowed down by the distant person. Significantly, that means statistically significantly, as in terms of tested using scientific methodology, okay? And the 3 experiments overall showed combined results which were strongly significant. Effects on blood systems have also been measured in a remarkable study by Snell and van der Sidje, Sidgaje. I don't know how you should be pronouncing that word either. In Bilhoven, Holland, using rats infected with the red blood cell parasite Babesia. A healer was asked to attempt to strengthen the defenses of the infected rats and was given nothing more than photographs. That is interesting because it connects with what's done with radionics and what even Charles Cosmanio was doing with photographs and all that kind of stuff. Nothing more than photographs of the rats to work with. Again, not a whiff of any direct physical contact. The healer lived 20 miles away from the rats and was not given any written material pertaining to the experiment. Just the photographs of the creatures he was to help. Once again, measurements were made of these rats, and control rats not being given the benefits of distant healing by the researchers unaware of which rats were in which group. The results showed that the proportion of infected red blood cells was substantially lower in the treated group than the control group for 14-day and 28-day measurements. The researchers also reported, intriguingly, that all of the rats fared better than would normally be expected. So this is another interesting bit, which is kind of like talking about interconnectedness and quantum entanglement and things, okay? Normally rats infected with Babesia radhani do not survive as long as the animals in our experiments. It was as if the healer, in protecting the experimental rats, had helped all the rats in the study. After all, having only photographs to work with isn't much, and, to our eyes anyway, all rats look pretty much alike, if they are of the same strain, which was true of the experiments. Perhaps the kindly healer wished to help all of them. Even so, the difference between the experimental and control group was significant, as in statistically significant, as in greater than chance, as in provable. Such results are startling. They imply a direct effect by human will on basic processes in the blood and within the immune system, and therefore on resistance to disease. They have obvious implications for healing. Okay? This is a good book. It doesn't look like a good book. It doesn't look like a good book should look like, does it? Okay? Pretty picture on the cover, big, bold, capital letters for the title. It looks like the kind of book that would be a bit trashy, really, if you think about it, okay? It doesn't look like the kind of thing you would want to have on your shelves, and you being photographed, right, with that book on your shelves because of its, it's thin, it's tall, it's designed to look good in a bookshop where people are spending money. It's not designed to be an academic type text. But there is something about its contents which is actually really rather interesting. Photographs of rats. Photographs of rats and statistically significant results of healing from like a really, really nasty pathogen. Okay? Now, let's just think for a second. Okay? Creatively, intellectually extrapolate to a certain extent. Okay? Some of that seems to imply that under some strange circumstances, and of course I'm not turning around to you and saying, hey man, I'm the great healer, I can do everything, diddly diddly dee, and so on and so forth. No. Nor am I saying this will work 100% diddly diddly dee, but there's other sections of this book which will explain possibly how, hypothetically, and under what circumstances hypothetically, these things could occur. But it does seem to imply that, people can become specifically aware of a specific pathogen, maybe having some kind of representation of it, and let's say they're doing distant spiritual healing using those symbols and having the right specific attitude of mind, let's say there's someone on the other side of your sissy who requires some kind of healing, and let's say you had a photograph of them, that could then translate into you telling their body, no, we want to reduce that particular thing inside them, inside you, which could then have implications for healing. This is, I mean, from Hans Eysenck's writing, okay, including all the other stuff that I've read, okay, because what I've been doing is I've been using my Spooky 2 system to give myself a bioscan and just doing something whilst I'm taking my bioscan, and so I've been going back to this book. It's got a lot of good stuff in it. So let's just think creatively. Think creatively. Not turning around and saying like, this is the answer, right? But thinking creatively. I've had far too much caffeine and nicotine today. You can tell I'm talking a bit too quickly. Calm down. Think about waterfalls. Calm down. Be tranquil. Don't get too excited, Nick. Okay. Then we come over to here. We come over to here. This bit, this little experimental, like cheap folding picnic table with my cool toys on it. So, radionic machine. Okay, input plate. What you want done to something. You also use the rates, which is also what you want done to something. Okay, or if you've got a rate for something, you then turn it, the other way. Neutralize it, take that number away from 10, and then you got the balance rate. Okay, as if to neutralize, or to get that energy, that idea, better absorbed by the target. Output plate. The thing you want it done to. So it's a perfect symbolical system of essentially what that study was talking about. Okay, I added a little bit of extra groovy new agey crystal point, which actually looks quite nice. I just saw it in the shop and I thought, hey, there's something about that, which seems to do it for me in its own little crystally, quartzy kind of a way. Anyway, so something to, hypothetically, be a receptacle for the intention. Plug a frequency generator into that, send the current throughout the whole thing resonating at the Schumann frequency, just to add an extra bit of je ne sais quoi. Stick pad over there so I can dowse for the rates. Little antenna put on there, primarily for theatrical purposes. Okay, radio aerial. But this is what that book is talking about, isn't it? Okay. You're acting as a distance healer, setting into your prayer and your meditation and going all, turning your mind into a whole rose quartz crystal energy type thing and thinking about what it is you want to do, using the intentions of the dials, using the intentions of symbols, like, those connected with radiesthesia, for instance. What you want done to what you want it done to. Witness sample, DNA wrapped in paper tape. It's all the same thing. This is a physical representation of what it is you're trying to do. Of what Hans Eysenck is saying other people have done. Little tools to help to divine the rates better. Okay, some people say you should have a cotton cord, not a chain. But either way, adding a bit of extra power. Something which has both symbolic and hypothetically energetic benefits. Organite. There is enough science out there to suggest a benefit to a certain degree statistically significant for this stuff to be useful. Not necessarily the cure for all diseases, but the word used in the book was implications for health. Now, I haven't been able to cure myself of a disease using this stuff yet. But, the more I play around with it, the better I'll get at it, maybe. And maybe we can all learn to do things with our minds to do good. Bit by bit. And no, I don't think that if I play around with this machine, the coronavirus will just go away. Okay? I don't think that. I play with this stuff as a curiosity, something that gives me these occasional strange experiences which like enhances my perception of reality, of the world. And makes me ask more questions, because like it's the same. It's the same with everything. The more you find out, okay, the more you learn, the more you get your head around, the more there is to learn. All right. So since you end up in this position of recognizing how little you actually know, the more you try and get your head around stuff. And it's like, instead of like, oh great, I have great knowledge now, it's a question of like this vast plane of, oh my god, there's so much more out there. You can only tell if you're learning something when like the vast plane of, oh my god, there's so much more to try and get your head around, opens out more and more and more and stretches out further and further and further until you recognize that you ain't ever going to be able to get your head around all of that. And so you have to like work out what is right for you and specialize in that. And that's all you can do. Does that make sense? Alright? But then you can't be too critical of other points of view, because some of what they think or some of what they know is going to be the truth. Some of it won't be. Some of it will be a misinterpretation of reality. I misinterpreted reality an awful lot when I was young. An awful lot. But I'm getting closer to the truth I need. Hope you are too.